We begin this half an hour with this. President Trump's powerful State of the Union address. The commander-in-chief called for unity and reached out to Democrats on immigration last night, urging lawmakers to come together to make America safe again. Watch.
Finally close the deadly loopholes that have allowed MS-13 and other criminal gangs to break into our country. My duty and the sacred duty of every elected official in this chamber is to defend Americans, to protect their safety, their families, their communities, and their right to the American dream. Because Americans are dreamers too.
Americans are dreamers too. Joining us right now to react is Senator David Perdue of Georgia. Senator, it's good to see you.
Good morning, Maria.
Thank you so much for joining us. Your reaction to the speech last night. How would you grade the president?
Well, I think if Mobile rated speeches, he had a 5-star rating last night. This is a very confident, optimistic president. He laid out his agenda. He talked about his agenda last year and what the results are looking like right now. And I think he told the world America is open for business again.
Yeah, Matt Schlapp, want to introduce you. Thanks very much for joining us, Chairman of CPAC. Good to have you join the conversation this morning. Senator, do you think we'll get an immigration deal? Will the two sides come together?
You know, in the last 50 years, this is the best chance we've had to fix our archaic immigration system. This president went out on a limb and laid out a framework that we believe we should get Democratic support for. We'll see between now and March the 5th.
Senator, good to see you. But I want to know how you get, though, with the most far right of members of Congress and even in the Senate in terms of the 1.8 million people who would be given a path to citizenship, dreamers in this country over a 12-year period. How do you reassure those Republicans that they won't get in front in line of other individuals in this country? And how do you characterize that as not being amnesty, which it is?
Well, when you look at the entire situation, what we want to do, and the president said this before, is we want to end DACA and give them a certainty. But the only reason that makes sense is if you close the door to this happening again. And to do that, you have to close border security, you have to build a wall, and you have to end this chain migration issue and the diversity lottery. So if you do that, then this is a very conservative solution to a 50-year problem.
And these are the 4 pillars that we want to show that the president brought up last night, including a legal pathway to citizenship for the DACA-eligible illegal immigrants, building a border wall, and ending the visa lottery program and chain migration, as you just went through that, Senator. The Democrats are pushing back, though, on money for the border wall, on ending some of these programs.
Well, we have all the evidence we need to show that they are totally out of touch with the American people. They closed the government down over this issue, for goodness sakes. Look, you can do a lot of things in America, but you cannot close the government down over this issue. And so what we've seen is 2/3 of Americans want this solution the way the president's laid it out. Over 70% believe that immigration should be the individual worker, the spouse, and the immediate minor children.
It does seem, Senator, like the chain migration piece is the non-starter for a lot of Democrats. Is there any discussion about maybe softening on that or at least pushing that off to another discussion and maybe bringing up something like E-Verify that a lot of Democrats signed on to even as recently as 2013?
Well, what we decided to do early on was the reason that immigration efforts have failed 3 times in the last 11 years is they tried to do too much. They tried to make it too comprehensive. So this attempt is just to deal with legal immigration. So E-Verify, temporary work visas, we can do that in step 2. The problem with chain migration is if you don't solve that problem, you still have the open door to the next generation of illegal immigrants. And so this is a tough one. And all we're really talking about are parents and siblings. The immediate family and children are still protected. So this is family unification. We're going to make sure they don't get ahead of the 4 million that are in the line right now as well.
Was there something last night that the president did not get across that you would have liked to hear with regard to this subject or any other in the State of the Union?
Well, what's troubling to me is the fact that we had so many people sitting on their hands last night.
Right, we were talking about that earlier.
This was so disrespectful, and it was very noticeable, even on things that we all agree on and we know they agree, they did not support this president. So I think that's a real problem. It does not bode well for this bipartisan effort that we have on immigration.
Matt Schlapp, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that there are concerns from Democrats on immigration, but there are concerns from Republicans on immigration. This is the legislative process. By the way, there's some conservatives who hang out with you, Senator, and in the House who are going to want to see some changes too. Everybody should just understand that is the process. I give the president great credit for giving us his principles and giving us some details, and now we're off.
Yeah. I mean, people say bills die in the Senate. I mean, when you really, I mean, you know that. When you look at what's on the agenda for 2018, what can you get done?
Well, we've got to get this done. I mean, what we did last year, we focused on, the president said job one is getting the economy going. So he focused on regulations, energy, and tax. We checked those boxes and look what's happening. This year, he wants to focus on immigration, infrastructure, and trade. And those are things we're focused on right now, in addition to potentially rebuilding our military.
I needed to hear more about fixing Obamacare, which we did not. I mean, he mentioned repealing the individual mandate, but that is a morass, and it could come to haunt the Republicans in November this year.
Dagan, I totally agree. The American people, I hear this all the time. You've got to do something about the rising premiums out there. But don't misunderstand them. The individual mandate is so perverse. What we saw in 2014, 8 million people were fined $2 billion, and half of those people make less than $25,000. The president referred to that last night. So I agree 100%. We've got to continue to work to get these premiums down.
But repealing it, though, you leave the sickest getting insurance, and those who are well and healthy no longer buying it. So you could create that downward spiral where premiums really now skyrocket.
Well, that's exactly right, and that's why we have to work on this. We have some bipartisan efforts going right now, but we'll see. This is a high priority for people back home.
Senator, what were your thoughts? What is your thought on what we heard from the private sector yesterday with Amazon and J.P. Morgan and Berkshire Hathaway coming up with a plan for employee health costs?
Well, this is what happens when government doesn't work.
Yeah,
and these great federal programs like the War on Poverty and the Great Society have all failed. And so what happens is people out there in the real world step up and take care of their people. Look at Walmart. They're giving a $5,000 bonus to people who will adopt. Now, whoever talked about that in the American private sector before?
Yeah, so the private sector should continue to come up with ideas, I guess.
Well, the proof is it works. We just went through 8 years of examples of where great big government failed. The lowest economic performance in our history. So we know what we don't want to do.
Yeah, all right, we'll leave it there. Senator, it's good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Thanks so much.
Stay warm.
Senator David Perdue joining us here.